Answered in Kind. 22. The Art of Refusing the Circuit. A meditation on discernment, detachment, and the quiet victory of self-possession. There are people who bruise the air around them, not with volume, not with flamboyance, not with the obvious chaos of noise, but with a subtler pressure, a faint corrosion. They arrive carrying a static charge of resentment, spite, grievance, or covert hostility, and wherever they go, the atmosphere tightens. Conversations lose oxygen, humor evaporates. The body senses danger before the mind can name it. We speak often of compassion, empathy, and understanding, and rightly so. These are noble faculties. But compassion without discernment curdles into self-betrayal, and empathy without boundaries becomes an open vein. So let us speak plainly, calmly, and without accusation. There are individuals who survive not by nourishment, but by extraction. They do not metabolize experience, they siphon it. They do not seek resolution, they seek reaction. This is not evil. It is unexamined pain crystallized into habit. And habits, when fed long enough, masquerade as identity. Such people are often trapped in a closed energetic circuit. Fear, shame, and unresolved grief, left unattended, condense into irritation, contempt, or hostility. Over time, these states cease to feel like symptoms and begin to feel like selfhood. The nervous system adapts. The amygdala stays lit. The prefrontal sanctum of discernment goes dim. And so, they probe the world. They poke, needle, insinuate, provoke, not always consciously, not always cruelly, but persistently. They are listening for resonance. They are testing the room for a frequency that matches their own inner turbulence. When they find it, when someone reacts, defends, explains, stiffens, over-empathizes, the circuit closes, energy flows, the loop is fed. This is why argument rarely helps. This is why correction often backfires. This is why moral superiority is gasoline, not water. They are not asking for what they think they are asking for. They are not seeking truth. They are seeking regulation, borrowed regulation, because they have not yet learned to generate it within themselves. Distance is the cleanest mercy. When one is free to leave the room, the relationship, the job, the pattern, clarity returns quickly. The nervous system exhales. The body remembers its own rhythm. The soul stretches. There is no shame in this. Withdrawal is not abandonment. It is conservation. It is not punishment. It is proportion. Some people cannot heal in proximity to the wound. Some environments are too loud for listening. Some lessons can only be learned when the stimulus disappears. And yet, there are times when distance is not immediately possible. A workplace, a household, a shared obligation. In these moments, the work becomes more subtle, more exacting, and paradoxically, more transformative. When you cannot leave, change the physics. When escape is unavailable, the objective shifts. You are no longer attempting resolution. You are no longer attempting harmony. You are not even attempting understanding. You are attempting containment. Containment is not suppression. It is not coldness. It is not hostility. It is precision. You make yourself energetically uninteresting. This is not passive aggression. It is strategic neutrality. Short responses, neutral tone, no emotional embroidery, no explanatory surplus. You speak only to what is required by the role, task, schedule, logistics, function. You do not volunteer interiority. You do not narrate your feelings. You do not offer warmth where warmth will be weaponized. You become, quite deliberately, boring. And boredom is kryptonite to extraction. What you are doing, quietly and without fanfare, is refusing the circuit. You are declining to complete the loop. No counterattack, no sermon, no righteousness, just absence of fuel. At first, this may provoke escalation. The system senses deprivation and pushes harder. This is not failure. It is confirmation. Stay steady. The nervous system learns faster than the intellect ever could. Eventually, one of two things happens. The pattern collapses and seeks energy elsewhere, or the individual is forced, perhaps for the first time, to sit with their own unprocessed interior. What they do at that moment is not your jurisdiction. Your task is simply not to interfere with their consequences. Boundaries, spoken once, enforced always. If a boundary must be spoken, speak it once, clearly, briefly, without heat. I'm not available for this kind of conversation. Let's keep this work-related. I won't engage when I'm spoken to that way. Then you act. You do not explain the boundary again. You do not negotiate it. You do not soften it with apology. Consistency is the language the nervous system understands. Compassion without collapse. Here is the nuance many miss. Detachment is not contempt. You may understand the roots of someone's behavior without volunteering yourself as soil for it. You may recognize their pain without becoming its container. This is the difference between compassion and sympathy. Sympathy collapses inward and entangles. Compassion radiates outward and stabilizes. One drains, the other strengthens. To remain sovereign is not to be unkind. It is to be honest about capacity. Over time, unexamined pain hardens into a prosthetic identity, a brittle mask layered over the wound. This mask may look like certainty, righteousness, cynicism, or moral fervor. It functions well enough for a while, but it does not heal. Any attempt to illuminate the wound beneath can feel like annihilation, and so the mask barks louder. It snarls. It insists. If the mask shatters, some awaken. They let go. They grieve. They step into freedom. Others retreat back into the wilderness of forgetting, and that, too, is allowed. The path to awakening does not look the same for everyone. There is no race. There never was a finish line. Discernment must be paramount. Without it, we outsource our self-trust to others, authorities, systems, personalities, and in doing so, open the gates to the very dangers we claim to fear. Discernment is not suspicion. It is not hardness. It is clarity without panic. It allows you to bless someone's humanity without endorsing their behavior. It allows you to walk away without hatred. It allows you to remain intact. Some are not ready to leave the wilderness. If you drag them into the light, they will scream, not because the light is cruel, but because their eyes have not yet adjusted. Sometimes the most loving act is not to rescue, but path clearing. Sometimes the work is simply to stand calmly at the edge of the road and demonstrate that a way home exists. And so you maintain composure. You refuse the circuit. You do not feed what harms you. You choose freedom over being right, sovereignty over reaction, peace over performance. In doing so, you do not diminish the world. You sanctify it. You remind it, quietly, wordlessly, that another mode of being is possible. And whether others follow now, later, or never at all, you have already arrived. Home is not a place you reach. It is the state you stop abandoning. And in that stopping, gentle, firm, unafraid, the work is complete. Praise love and pass the compassion. Unless, of course, it's only going to slip through their fingers. A clenched fist does not heal. A closed hand does not receive. And if one is not willing to accept a helping hand, they must learn by their own. The light speaks once and forever.